It's no secret that DLC is wanted for this game, and while Steel Wool has hinted at some additional content in an update, I'm just gonna list out the things I think should be considered candidates for other modes. The only other thing I want for the game is for Classic Foxy and FNaF 2 to be replaced with Withered Foxy's model. I don't want the Withereds as badly as other people, but they would certainly be cool. Maybe a FNaF 2 night with just the Withereds and Golden Freddy would be an interesting sight.
Yeah, so that video is a bit outdated. Since its release, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted has been updated a number of times. While some of these are just simple bug fixes and adjustment patches, others offered plenty of fresh content. New characters, new game modes, new secrets, and more were all thrown into the package, making the game even more definitive. All in all, there were 3 main content updates: the Withered Update, the Curse of Dreadbear DLC, and the inclusion of a non-VR mode. Happy Halloween, LV viewers! In chronological order, let's visit what each of these had in store, shall we? Out of nowhere, Steel Wool, the development team of Help Wanted, pushed out an update for the game on September 14th. In the previous update that added language support, a secret image was added to the game. Remember this from the main review?
Getting them all achieves you
exotic butters,
and pressing the button in the basket shows you this. It used to show these behind-the-scenes backstage-styled pictures of animatronics, but was ultimately replaced with this.
Over the course of the game's life, this basket of buttery goods gave us sneak peeks at some more juicy treats. With the language update in July, pressing the button revealed this, an image clearly showing models of the withered animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Just over 2 months later, these misfits were added to the game. All instances of Classic Foxy and the FNaF 2 game mode were altered to show Withered Foxy instead, and he looks fantastic. Not too sure why he wasn't here to begin with, but it's not a big deal. Even flipping over to the parts and surfaces camera feed shows the same shot from the original game. But more interestingly was the new level found in the FNaF 2 section named Withered. Booting it up would present us with a difficulty slider and familiar instructions. Like all the other blacklight modes in the game, this level has a filter over it, giving us a red and black effect over the lighting. This mode is identical to the Night 5 level of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, but with one deadly difference. The retired versions of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica spring into action and join the hunt against you. In total, there are 10 enemies all trying to end your run, which embodies the spirit of the original game much more. And the withered animatronics look fantastic, just as Foxy does. Their animations and body expressions are all top-notch in quality. The only error is that sometimes Withered Freddy and his toy counterpart will collide and merge into one entity. I'm not even joking, just look at them. Since they share a similar spot where they stand in the hallway, their models overlap and it looks pretty humorous. Definitely just a minor oversight made by a programmer. Another thing worth noting is the absence of the mysterious Golden Freddy, an adversary from the original games. In fact, I completely forgot to mention last time that Golden Freddy doesn't make any appearances in this game at all. That reason might be tied with the lore, but I don't know, I hopped off that mess a long time ago. Before we move on, remember the exotic butters basket I mentioned earlier? The one with the button inside that teased upcoming content? Well, it seemed that the torment wasn't over just yet, as pressing the button after the Withered update showed this. It's a bit harder to make out this time, but it appears to be an arm reaching out of the ground next to a screen or something in a field. At the time, the best guess I could have made was that the FNaF 6 content was being added. I speculated that the hand belonged to William Afton from Pizzeria Simulator, but no one could say for sure what this was. Fortunately, we got our answer that Halloween season. Spooky month of 2019 was in full swing and the Curse of Dreadbear DLC for Help Wanted came alongside it. $10 for brand new stages, more returning enemies, and loads of new secrets for the community to sink their teeth into. Sounded like a fever dream. Before we dive into the meat of this update, being the new levels, let's talk about the new hub area you'll be getting accustomed to. You can't access these Halloween mini-games through the main level select. Upon opening the game after installing the DLC, you'll hear this message from Hand Unit.
Congratulations! It appears you have been granted access to additional holiday content. Press the special button in the candy pail to enter the Halloween hub. Keep in mind that this DLC pack is nothing more than a festive holiday-themed add-on, which has absolutely no hidden intent or purpose. So, have fun!
Following the message brings you to this creepy exterior field with a running projector that displays the words Curse of Dreadbear, and like most of these situations, you're not alone. Simply looking up will reveal Dreadbear, a new Halloween animatronic antagonist you'll have to face in the new modes. Withered Bonnie can even be seen behind you, foreshadowing some other familiar faces of evil that will pop up in the DLC. Pressing on situates players in the new hub set in a Halloween festival. Right off the bat, you could already tell that the devs really put their heart into this pack of DLC. It all feels organic and right in line with that Halloween spirit. And have I mentioned that the win and lose areas are also massive improvements? Winning in any mode takes you to this prize barn, which is far more interesting than the backstage of the base game. You can even play with some darts before leaving, which is a super nice touch. Alternatively, if you're a failure at life, you'll be sent to this ominous location with a gargantuan-sized Dreadbear reaching out to you and laughing in the lowest pitch known to man. Just like before, we have another adversary lurking behind us, but instead of something old, we got something new. Grim Foxy is the new face in town, and he'll be one of the various banes of my existence this evening. He takes a page out of the Jacko animatronics playbook by sporting a bright orange color scheme with glowing insides, but I guess he decided to set himself on fire to really seal the deal. While I'm discussing Grim Foxy's design, I might as well touch on Dreadbear's. Obviously based on the trope of Frankenstein's monster with the stitches, the bolts, and the zombie green color scheme, he holds up pretty well. A simple design, but a memorable one, I'd say. Alright, first level of the DLC. Let's see where my $10 went. Oh dear god, not this again. Remember the plush baby level from the main game and the difficulty it brought? Well, it's back for round 3, and you wanna know a secret? Just between you and me? I didn't beat it. You see, most of the Halloween levels are unlocked right out of the gate. With the exception of the Danger Keep Out levels, which have linear progression, you can jump into any level without needing to beat its predecessor. So yeah, after putting in a good few attempts and coming up empty-handed, I just figured it would be best for humanity's sake if I moved on with the other stages. As far as I know, there's no reward for beating every level, and there's no harder versions of them to play. I mean, the difficulty console is still here, but it quite literally does nothing other than overlay the game with a filter. No modes to select, so its inclusion is pretty pointless if you ask me. So while I may not have conquered Plushkin Patch, I could at least give a rundown of how it plays. Setup-wise, things are different as we're no longer confined in a building. The plush babies return with festive masks and hide around your environment. If you don't find them in time, they'll emit those same high-pitched screams I know everybody loves. But like I said, screw this mode. Going on ahead, instead of something old, let's tackle something new. Foxy's Pirate Ride is next on board and is certainly not what I expected going in. It's a high-score-based amusement park ride where you shoot targets to earn one of various ranks. While being a nice break from creepy circumstances and spooky scares, the minigame isn't as innocent as it lets on. Shooting Helpy with your balls whenever possible derails the track and has you venture a familiar location while avoiding Jacko Bonnie and Jacko Chica. Man, was it cool to see these guys back in action as a team, pretty much for the first time since their debut in FNaF 4's Halloween edition. Unless you count FNaF World. But I'm sure we'd all like to forget about FNaF World. Not really much else to say here about the stage, honestly. It's the closest thing we have to a FNaF first-person shooter, so I guess that's something. Yet let's take a full 180 degree and take a trip down the Grim Foxy's Corn Maze. This mode, how do I put it, is terrifying. It's just terrifying. Partially because you have free roam. Yeah, no longer are you glued to a seat or stuck in a single room, you can roam around in it, actually explore. Situated in the center of a corn maze, your task is to obviously escape, but there are a couple catches. For starters, there are 4 exit gates and 4 keys, all assigned distinct colors. After finding any key or a couple, you must search for the associated gate so you can leave. Sounds simple, and it is. Except for the absolute most fear-inducing element of this level. The crows. I'm obviously joking, the real terror is Grim Foxy. Though those birds are loud and did give me some heart attacks, Foxy will patrol the maze with full intention of hunting you down. Thankfully, scattered throughout the labyrinth are cutouts you could hide behind. These are safe zones and will protect you if Foxy catches a glimpse of where you are. But once you have all that down, it's smooth sailing. Find a key, get to the right gate, and you'll be golden. However, if you collect all the colored keys, a purple 5th one will spawn. Using it on the locked door in the center of the maze will reveal the prize room with some sort of rabbit mask on the table. Oh wait, what's this? Footage not found? Yeah, I was too lazy and, more accurately, a wimp to do this process again when gathering footage, so I just straight up didn't. I already did it on PS4, but hey, I got a PNG of that mask you could find at least. Hopefully that makes up for it. I'm reputable, I swear. This was without a doubt a teaser for the next entry in the everlasting franchise that is Five Nights at Freddy's. Security Breach is the name of the game, and at the time of writing this, we still haven't seen much of the game apart from a few teasers and a short trailer. But hey, I'm getting off topic, back to Help Wanted. I'm not reviewing Security Breach right now. Unless you'd like me to. Moving on, we have Spooky Mansion that kicks off with Hallway. You see, it's called Hallway because you're in a hallway. Despite the rather ordinary name, this mode is actually quite cool. Returning back to the FNaF 4 house, we have to traverse this corridor while dodging the nightmare animatronics. Bonnie and Chica will pop out the doors on occasion and will kill you on sight if you're in their way. Additionally, Foxy will sometimes stall in front of you and will only attack if you move in his presence. After some time, Freddy becomes active as he makes a beeline straight towards you from behind. Nothing slows him down, he's basically there to condition you to go as fast as possible, or else... well, I'm sure you know what happens if he gets too close. Next up is Build a Mangle. 2 conveyor belts move an array of animatronic limbs and other parts on your sides. The center monitors signify which pieces you need to assemble your monstrosity. Sometimes a Freddo will wander onto a conveyor, which just requires you to shock them. Under a time limit, you need to gather the necessary parts, and lo and behold, what my engineering degree has led to. Look at this state-of-the-art piece of machinery, it just straight up spells revolutionary. I don't know about you, but we could be looking at the future face of marketable animatronics. Let's call it Mangle 2.0, aka Atrocity. Well, it seems Mangle didn't quite like what we built. In fact, throwing enough wrong parts into the receptacle will just allow Mangle to finish us early. To be honest, we may have deserved that. After that Build-A-Bear lawsuit just waiting to happen, it's time to trick-or-treat with everyone's favorite Withered animatronics. And Balloon Boy. Peering through the windows of a mansion, players will see the bots moving about to random positions. It's detrimental to keep track of them all, since one of the bunch will decide to stand right behind the front door. Once time's up, you will be required to wear the associated mask of the animatronic answering to the door. That's the basic premise of the game, as it goes on for 3 more rounds. Mangle even joins in on the fun and decides to block one of the windows on occasion, but thankfully they'll take their leave once you wear their mask. If you don't mind, everyone, I'm just gonna let the game introduce this next level for reasons.
Welcome back to Research and Development. Today, we are using science to pervert the mysteries of life and reanimate the inanimate. To begin, it is customary for the creator to give a melodramatic speech. Go on, I'll wait.
Subscribe to Rye Guy LV.
All done? Good job.
After shocking Dreadbear to life, we need to configure his brain. Good stuff. I've always wanted to be Dr. Frankenstein, and this mode fulfills that lifelong desire. Also, speaking of that scientist, quick fun fact, this DLC in its alpha stage of development actually went under the name Rise of Frankenfreddy. This is presumably the name the bear went by before they settled on the much cooler Dreadbear. I guess they didn't want their theft to be so obvious. Danger Keep Out is what the last of the stages go by. This mode is split up into 3 nights with progressing difficulty, and is set back in the FNaF 1 location, but with some drastic differences. Most obviously, the Jacko animatronics replace the classic gang, and how we ward them off also takes on a twist. Rather than power-hungry doors and limited resources, we are armed with light flashes. If a glowing animatronic is seen outside our door, flashing it with the light will send the monster away. You can only use 5 flashes before needing to restart the building's power. However, while engaging in a restart, one is completely defenseless. You need to carefully strategize for the best time to initiate your restart, as you don't want to be left vulnerable when an animatronic is close to reaching your office. Like most modes across FNAF's history, Bonnie and Chica operate the same. One comes from the left and the other comes in from the right. Flash them when necessary or it's game over. Night 2 adds Grim Foxy to the mix as he progressively peeks out from Pirate's Cove. Thankfully, a single flash will reset his advancement, however. When all is said and done with Night 3, Dreadbear himself enters the equation. His behavior is simple, as he'll follow a very specific path from the far end of the building to your station. The only difference is that unlike his glowing friends, he will never retreat. Flashing the Frankenstein's monster ripoff will only pause him for a brief period of time. His AI type makes things especially tense when the night's almost over, since he'll likely be right outside the hallway. While I do prefer the classic gameplay from the first Freddy's game, these stages are a welcome twist on that concept. When the animatronics begin to bust down the boards when it's the only thing between you and them, things can get really stressful. I genuinely jumped when they catch me off guard with that loud bang this way. Well, that's basically the Curse of Dreadbear DLC for $10. With the exception of other secrets and hidden oddities, there's pretty much nothing else to go over. Plushkin patch aside, these modes are a ton of fun and were a treat to experience. Danger Keep Out, Trick or Treat, and Build a Mangle are among my favorite stages in the entire game. But hey, look, there's still some more time left in this video. What could possibly be next, I hear you asking? Come the holiday season later that year, winter decorations were put up that I definitely got footage of, and we got this beast of a VR game in non-VR. Admittedly not my best transition, but hey, it's what we're going with. As I'm sure you all know, buying a VR headset requires money and lots of it. Understandably, not everyone can get their hands on one, so what does Steel Wool do? Carefully port the entirety of Help Wanted and its mounds of content into a version more people can enjoy. Officially titled Flat Mode, this way of play doesn't require any VR devices and makes the game similar to most on the market. While this was a fantastic decision and showed that the developers really care about the fanbase, let's be honest, this game is far better in VR. One thing I'm sure we all appreciate about virtual reality is how real and immersive it can feel. When applying that to a horror game like Five Nights at Freddy's, it really does feel like you're in the shoes of the player. For instance, take the mini games where you fix up one of the animatronics. You can just see how massive the robot is in VR because of that virtual environment tapping into your senses. But when you take that away, things feel so much more flat, for lack of a better term, and it's harder to get as absorbed into the experience. Furthermore, a feature that the community loved was being able to pick up and throw objects freely with your hands. While that was carried over to the non-VR version of the game, it's just not as engaging since you have to click on the object and then press a corresponding key based on what you want to do with what you're holding. Now calm your horses, I'm not saying that flat mode is bad, far from it. This is just coming from someone who already played the game and saw most of what it had to offer in VR. For the main review, I played the entirety of the game on PlayStation VR. For this follow-up, I did an identical playthrough in flat mode on PC. From this, you could probably assume why my second playthrough wasn't as gripping. Yet don't treat my words as a cautionary tale or anything like that. If all you can afford is flat mode, go for it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But if you can go the extra mile and try the VR experience, trust me, you'll have a far better time. Sorry if that all came off as negative, feel free to boo me in the comments section, but going back to what I said earlier, Steel will have my respect for creating flat mode. If they didn't care, it would be embarrassing, lazily throwing together add-on just to get more money, but it's evident that they really thought things through and put in so much love and care to something I didn't even think was coming to Help Wanted. While I definitely prefer VR mode, all of the compromises made to bring the game out of that medium were the best they could have done. They succeeded in keeping the spirit of Help Wanted as intact as possible. These developers have definitely proved that Security Breach is in the right hands, and speaking of that game, this update also gave us an extra sneak peek at that title. By once again getting a little tip from the exotic butters, it hints that something has been added to the pizza party mode. After straying off the path in that minigame at the end, you'll find yourself before this construction site and a billboard revealing another coming attraction from Fazbear Entertainment. We now know this to be Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex, the setting of Security Breach. The game was originally scheduled for this year, but it's the end of October, and like I said, we haven't seen much. You know, it's probably my luck for this game's release date to be announced right after this video goes up, so I'm just gonna move on. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted was already my favorite game in the franchise before all of these additions. In some alternate timeline where none of these updates happened, I would have still been happy with the level of content already present in the base game. But no, Steel Wool decided to show that they cared by going all out with these inclusions. Heck, 2 of the 3 updates I broke down were free. The Withereds were a highly requested addition to the FNaF 2 levels. Not only did they hear the demands, but they did them justice. The Curse of Dreadbear DLC was the only expansion that was accompanied with a price tag, and it was a great deal. From concept to execution, it delivered. And flat mode was a great idea that was worth the effort to bring this amazing game to many more fans. It's also worth mentioning how successful this game ended up being. When I was writing the main review, it wasn't easy to tell as the game was still recent, but it's clear as crystal now that this game was an absolute win, and that's evident through the ports. Originally, this game was only on PlayStation 4 and PC with VR, but it was later ported to Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and even mobile devices, all without the need for VR. How awesome is that? Like I said earlier, Steel Wool is the right team for the job of pushing the FNaF series to new heights, and I can't wait to see what they're fully capable of very soon.